So the Rincon 1 was a great shoe. Did the Rincon 2 ruin it, or is it just a slight improvement? After 100 miles, I'm ready to give you my full review. But first, let's get a quick disclaimer out of the way. The shoe was provided to me by Hoka and Outside PR, but all of the thoughts and opinions in this video are my own, and that doesn't influence my review. So with that out of the way, let's get into the review. Starting with the upper. The first Rincon has a nice and minimal upper, but it also wasn't the sturdiest. The new upper on the Rincon 2 is much more suited for everyday training, and even with the miles I've put into it, I see very little signs of wear. After I had put a lot of miles on the Rincon 1, I felt like I had to keep cranking down the laces more and more to get a nice lockdown. With the sequel, I haven't had to do that, and the overall lockdown is much better, and it definitely keeps my foot in place. This wasn't that big of a deal to me, but the Rincon 2 does have a less breathable upper compared to the first Rincon, which had a material similar to the Rocket X. Now let's move down to the midsole. Unlike the Clifton or some other Hokas that are plush and marshmallowy, the Rincon is more responsive. This allows you to pick up the pace and not sink into the foam and lose your momentum. With all of this cushioning in the midsole, it definitely offers protection over long distances. With a lot of high-end shoes having a lot of fancy foam and carbon plates, it's nice to be able to have an affordable and simple shoe that can be versatile. One thing that I wasn't a fan of in the first Rincon that is the same with the second version is that's a little firm when you first get it, and it takes a few runs to soften up and kind of break in. Now let's move on to the outsole. With very minimal coverage on the outsole, this helps keep the shoe light. It's one of the lighter weight trainers I have in my rotation. Since the outsole is mostly exposed foam, don't expect to get a lot of traction and grip on anything besides dry road. Another issue that I had with the first Rincon that is the same with the second version is the durability of the outsole. After just a couple of runs, pieces of exposed foam were already starting to come off. While it was mostly cosmetic, if you try and put 500 miles in these shoes, there will be nothing left on the outsole. Alright, now it's time for the shoe type stoplight portion of the review. Starting with speed days, the Rincon 2 gets a yellow light. So this shoe isn't my first choice for speed days, but with its responsiveness and its rocker and its lightweight, it's definitely easy to pick up the pace in this shoe. I'd say it's best for doing workouts that are like half marathon or full marathon, where you don't need to have short, fast intervals, but something that's focused on some of those longer, a little bit slower efforts. For everyday runs, the Rincon 2 gets a green light. Even though it suffers a little bit with durability, the Rincon 2 is still a great everyday trainer. I found that the midsole is a great balance of protection and propulsion, so be able to comfortably rack up those miles. For long run day, the Rincon 2 gets another green light. Due to that thick cushion midsole and the more secure upper, I found that this shoe worked very well on long run days, and it didn't really matter what type of pace I was doing for the long runs. It was great no matter a long tempo or just kind of an easy long slow day. And finally, for recovery day, the Rincon gets another green light. So I assume, like most people, I really enjoy cushioned shoes for recovery days, and the Rincon 2 definitely checks that cushioned box. So I personally would prefer the Clifton 7 over the Rincon 2 for recovery days, but even when I did use this shoe on recovery days, it felt great. I had no complaints, and it's especially a good option if this is your one and only kind of all-around shoe. So the Rincon 2 takes what everybody loved about the first Rincon and added a more durable and secure upper to it. While it does still have some durability issues with the midsole and outsole, it's a great, lightweight, affordable, everyday performance trainer. I think this shoe is one of the best all-around Hokas, and it comes in at a very reasonable price. So if you're shy about getting your first maximal Hoka cushion shoe, I think this is a great gateway option into that Hoka life. So I do also have a full review of the Clifton 7 in the works and a first impressions of the Rocket X. Subscribe so you don't miss those, and as always, keep on running.